Hello, this is GM Sam, Journey in Gaming. I'm going to do a quick video of how I prep. I did one a while ago, had a stack of books and all that stuff, but I want to go through the motions again and show some of my thought processes of one of the games that I currently run, Alien RPG. And I know it's not Dungeons and Dragons, that's the most popular game out there, but something different. Processes are the same. I just wanted to show it. So it's going to come from table prep to what I do with books and everything and show you how I stay organized and run the games. So I'm going to change camera angles and then get everything set up. And so there, on my table right now is from a previous game. The characters had been inside this house investigating um, a zombie outbreak that's happening in the Wuhan region. Well, not a zombie outbreak, a plague that's turning people into zombies. So, I have a little house here and stuff. So I want to put all this away so that maybe I can do or get ready for the next game. I have these little containers that I have for a quick grab, and then I have these guys. Oh, you see this one, but there's another one similar to that, but it's designed to hold all my little Warlock tiles, which Warlock tiles for its price, it's expensive. It's not cheap, but it is cheaper than Dwarven Forge. I mean, I love Dwarven Forge. It is what it is. I just the price point is way above my pay grade. I don't know, maybe if I have a rich uncle someday I can pick one of those. But these are a good substitute. And you're able to put with the ability to put them together. You can stick them to the floors, create nice little layouts. But anyway, outside the topic, one of these days I'll do something with them. But either way, get these off the tables, put them away. My little quick grab. If I can get them into the bags they go into, that's even better. So I can find them easier later. Stairs there. Okay. And then this guy. So, and then you the minis. These were the Herrick, the zombie, and then the two workers. I guess you could call them other clerics that were or priests that were helping with the bodies of the people that had been um, killed and just turn into those creatures. So all of my games are in these little containers. These can be found at Michael's. Look for them on half price sales. You get one pretty much 2 for 1. These are really nice. They're big. They hold a lot of stuff in them. So it's really cool. Of course, I have the queen because it's just the queen. She's got to be in these games, right? Anyway, again, distracted. It's a small squirrel, queen, and I got distracted. But put this away. This is going to go over here because that's going to be used in a different for a different part of the game. And then I'd like to set up for this particular game. You see, I have like little mats. You can get these. These are the ones that they use for wargaming. This one I think is a 4x6, actually covers my whole table. I do have an 8 foot by 4 foot table, which is really nice. I can do it out with it. So this particular is just a little blanket. I got it in a blind box. Probably the best thing out of the blind box. And it's just nice little alien thing, and I'll spread it out later. But that's not the focus of this. I just want to show you little pieces of what I do. And so you have your core rule book. Sorry, you have your core rule book. There you go. The Colonial Marines rule book, because the story is about Colonial Marines who retired and were working as space truckers. The real story was that they were run a whole bunch of missions. It's actually the campaign that's in here, and then they would go to cryo, come back, relive one of these missions, and then it would build the story up. Once they got to a certain point where their dreams were revealing too much old information, they realized that a faction in the military who was trying to create bioweapons were had taken them, put them in cryo, brought them out slowly, wiped their minds, and then put them on the ship as if they were retired. I mean, they were officially retired, but their minds were wiped, so they wouldn't remember the things that they were finding out. Eventually, they figured it out. They fought back. They got away, and now the general that they were chasing wound up going into the colonies, which goes into this campaign. And that's it's heavily modified. So those of you that have run this, it's heavily modified. And again, this is, this probably be seen on some D&D pages, but it's not a D&D game, obviously, and the system's completely different. It's a D6 success system, and it has a panic component. However, the point is you can take a story, modify it to fit your game, and then continuing it on in another one and modify that as well. So, and here, they're supposed to be out there in the colonies and they're looking for the lost people or the people who they lost communications with. And now they're trying to reconnect with them but in the process trying to find Vaughn. So there's a two-part. So I took the original core of the story, said, hey, this is your cover, so that when you go out there and you find these people, they're going to think you're doing that, but in fact, you're working for us, a space UN, or excuse me, a United Nations Space Command, um, secret element that's out there looking for the people that we had lost. Or excuse me, not the people the people that we had lost, and the secret part of the mission is looking for General Vaughn, who's basically wanted for high crimes. Um, so that's the way you can do this, and you can modify things so that it fits your story. Um, and then but as you do that, you let the players play through the story, and then they pick out parts that they want to chase. So there was a on one of the planets, the players had run into a situation where the colonists were being controlled by basically an oligarchical type thing, and the people, it was a very, very heavily class society that was heavily favored to the people at the top, and they were got involved and incited basically a mini insurrection. So different things that you can do with that, and then there's the occasional xenomorph that winds up showing up, and they have to deal with that, and then on that same planet as well, they ran into the two other factions that they're involved, Vaughn's group, as well as the Children of the Two Divines, who's trying to turn everybody into these things because they're crazy, really crazy. So those are the different ways that you can do that. You have all the pieces that you need for a game. I have my DM screen, which I use it mainly for the panic table here, which thankfully they're going to update that in the second edition. So if you have a GM screen that's specific for your game, because I know a lot of the D&D modules have their own, that is usable. Excuse me. That you can use, whose tables that you can use. Strahd's got a really good one. The 5e, Lord of the Rings 5e has a really good one. So here's your basic D&D one. Here's the overland travel one. Some good tables in there. The underground one. I think this is the elements one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, elemental evil. Some charts in there. Some seafaring charts. This one, and just use your resources to the best of your ability to have them available. As far as Alien, I was able to pick up some things for science fiction, which the players don't know that because you're not supposed to know it. You just run the table and then let things happen as they can for them. And I also have my I have my the minis that are used for the game, and I have them separated for this particular game. And sometimes I'll take a little container, something similar to this, or something that's about twice the size. I have one that's twice the size, and I'll use, like, for this, I would have additional Marines or civilians, if they're trying to save them and they have to take them, so I'll move them. And then the xenomorphs that come around and grab people and do what they do with them. I can't say enough. Take notes. Take notes. Have a notebook. Even if you're typing in your computer, have a notebook because computers crash. I had a laptop die on me, and this saved me a lot. But I personally, typing is fast, but I think, and this is my opinion, everybody should write it down. And if you have a computer that you can type them in, transfer this to that. Because again, computers can crash. As long as this doesn't get wet or there's fire, you have this and it's there. You don't have to worry about, losing this in the cloud strike, whatever happens where you lose access to your data. So, something to consider. And then, hallways for them to travel, um, um, outside of a ship or a complex, so they can travel and figure out what's going on inside or play out the scenario. So I guess just to give people a picture of how I do things, and I'll sit there and I'll read through this, and sometimes I go into the Facebook pages and see how people run certain things and pick up ideas there. I mean, as long as it's not, I guess what I'm saying is ignore the fluff that doesn't fit your game. Pick up the things that work for you and your players. If you don't like it, don't use it. Don't get into disagreements or arguments. Oh, that sucks, or this is no good. Ignore that. Read it, find out what works for you, pick that up, put it over there. If somebody's putting it out there in the public domain, it's yours to use. As long as you don't try to monetize somebody else's idea and you don't have permission, who cares? Just, run your game. On top of that, there's a lot of good resources out there for the maps. Ed Greenwood for D&D has a really nice he has a really nice it's called Patreon and Discord, where you can pick up all kinds of ideas and information about specifically the Forgotten Realms. And that kind of stuff is actually transferable to any game that you run. Some of the concepts of, like, there's a creature it's carrying off the princess, I gotta go save them. There's a xenomorph that's carried off the kid, I gotta go save them. Aliens. That's the basic end of the plot. The last act of the movie is that whole thing. I'm rescuing someone. That's a plot that's universal. It can be used anywhere. And we saw it in the most recent iteration of Alien Romulus. We saw it here. So, don't be afraid to don't be stuck on, well, that idea sucks. Well, what about it doesn't suck? And use that idea and apply it to your game. With regards to players are going to do things. Some players do some really silly stuff. I won't say they're stupid, because they're not. They're just players having fun. You've all played your own games where you've done things in games, you're like, oh man. So that's just a lesson learned. Well, my character died. It's a character. Respawn. Remake it. Why put a lot into this character? It's a character. You can rebuild it, say it's his cousin, his twin, it's a clone, whatever you want to say, and just continue playing. Don't worry about whether or not your character. I mean, don't be silly and senseless and run in and get your character killed. That's kind of silly. Kind of like, trying to run in here by yourself. I had a player in a different alien game run down into the engine knowing that there's something running around. He wound up with his arm ripped off. It's like, what do you want me to do, man? I mean, the dice do what they do. So, I guess this is just a picture into my mind when it comes to running games. And something else, don't over prep, but prep enough. So let's say you're just a guy that writes 10 pages. This is what I want to do in this next session. You're not going to get through it all. That's that. If you're that person, you're doing a lot of railroading and you're doing a lot of narrative versus actual play. If anything, if you get through 2 or 3 pages of the notes that you wrote, even this size pages, these little half sheets. So I have, let's say, here's a small paragraph. That's the whole session right there. Okay. This is the paragraph for another session, so here's one that's pretty long. So this was where is it at? August 1st. This now, some of this is me taking notes from the game, obviously.
Okay, so like right here, if checking beacon page 209, backhoe log. And then I say they moved, they moved the rover to another site. They find a rover, and then so that's what they did. Here's what they're going. I'm like, okay, they find the rover abandoned near the center of the Valley Mountains. So there's that. And then on the next, at the end of the session, this is where they're traveling. So then it's my job to go in and fill that in right here. And the very next part of the session, they made planetfall. They find the prefect colony is missing. They find the Vaughn reference, so on and so forth. So all the different things. And I guarantee you, they're not going to even hit that. So this is one page total. Part of it is my intention for the session as far as what they're doing. The other part of it is things that they've already done that I will or they're doing in that session. I'll write it down either in the margin or I'll have a blank line that I can insert stuff and then just do it. Like right. In fact, this one scan results page 208 include a blank spot. Slovetsky on the planet abandoned. So that's all what's going to happen. And then I detail. Do you need a contact to open it? If they can't do it with contact, heavy equipment, it failed. The scans on the ship is nothing. Scanning manifest. Here's what they find in the manifest. Where it's located, because I missed something. So just point to it. What the bay has and who they meet. So there's a note in the margin here, and then go on from there. So keeping it simple. And another thing about my games is a lot of it is improv because again, they do what they do and they're going to play how they play and you just let it go. Thankfully I record most of my games when I remember to hit record and I'm able to pick up the what happens. So I don't try to watch the whole thing. I'll watch the last 30 minutes. I like watching them because they're entertaining, they're fun. So if I'm working on something like, let's say right now, I would have been prepping this, I would have had the whole thing playing in the background while I was setting up the table, the books and everything. Then when I get ready to do the actual prep where I take my notes, I'll listen to the last 30 minutes and pick up any details is there because that's the meat of what's going to happen into this very next session. Usually, sometimes there's stuff that happened an hour earlier, and you want to remember that. And that's why sometimes I do have the players recap. So I hope I didn't go too fast, and I hope this helps other GMs to prep. And lastly, you don't need anybody to affirm anything you do in a game. If you have a player, or excuse me, if you have players that have fun, you did a good job. If you have players that say, "Hey, um, this was um, this was awesome," you did a good job. If you have players that say, well, I had a problem with this, talk to the player. Talk to your players. Running to Discord, running to the internet, those are strangers. They don't know anything with the context of what's going on in the game. Your players, you and your players know each other. These people don't know you and they only got a picture of what's happening. Talk to your players and figure things out with them and come to a consensus. And sometimes the consensus is we can't play together anymore. And that's okay because not everybody has to be your friend. Not everybody is your customer if you're a professional GM like I am. Not everybody is going to agree with everything. Now, if it's a simple disagreement, it's like, I don't like the way that happened, then we can move forward and fix it, just like a real relationship. And I'm not saying that when I say relationship, don't take it out of context because playing together, you have built a gaming relationship as a professional GM and a player. There's a business relationship there, so it's a relationship, and all relationships are built on trust and they're built on communication. And if you depend on the opinions of strangers versus the feedback from your players, you're going to find that it's a lot harder to run your games because you're constantly going back to those strangers to give you the feedback you need to make the game great. That doesn't mean you don't go to them. Like if I'm stuck on a certain concept within this book, I'm going to go to the other professionals or the people that are really good at it and say, hey, help me understand this. But as far as within my game, my players are my resources for great gaming because they're the one that are have the experience of playing with me
as the person that's providing the good time and the entertainment necessary for them to say, man, I needed that to forget about the real world and roll dice, or however it is, or draw cards, or however it is that it works for that particular system. So I encourage you, all of you, not to get caught up in looking for validation, because you don't need it. If your players say you're having fun, done great. So with that said, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Like, subscribe if you want. If you don't, great. I'm glad you at least got to see my video. And everybody have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.